Blessed be. Thanking the Most High God for the life of Sister Edna, that the Most High God will continue to be with all of us and bless us even after this holy season that just went past, that the Most High God will hear all of our prayers and our supplications, that Yah will continue to be with our families, the people that we love, and that Yah will continue to put peace in the midst of us. Nothing better than peace. Yes. You know? You could go through all the stuff that you want to go through, but peace is the ultimate. Peace is the ultimate. So amen. Pray for peace. Hope that God grants you peace and that the Most High God will continue to be with us. This congregation bless us all. That the Creator continue to be with Kobe Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. That the Most High God bless the memory of all those teachers that came before us. Amen. Rabbi Matthew, Rabbi Ford, Rabbi Yirmiyahu, all the different rabbis, down to Nasi Yaakov and Cohen Levi and all the great men that put forth the effort to bring us all to knowledge of ourselves in one way or another. So we're thankful to the Creator for that, and we're hoping and praying that the Most High God will continue to be with us all, protect us and guide us, that Yah will continue to show us a way, even in these tough and trying times, that the Most High God will continue to show us a way and strengthen us, because we need strength, brothers and sisters. We need strength to get through tough times, and Yah is the one that provides strength. So we are thankful to the Most High King for the strength that He provides for us, and we continue the struggle, but in the struggle, we find happiness because Yah brings us happiness. So I'm thankful to the Creator once again for my life. We're going to continue in the history. We're going to go into the book of Daniel, or Daniel. And we hope and pray that the Most High God will guide our words, and brothers who follow up and run through this history, that the Most High God will give us the right words to be able to bring forth to the people and not to mislead the people or misguide the people. So we're going to pick it up, the history from the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1.
Ready? Ready?
Okay.
We're in the book of Daniel.
Oh, hold on. To the people online, I got notes in the description. I also had notes for here, but I can't blame my son for this one this time. I left the bag at home with the notes that I have for the congregation. So I have about 18 copies of the notes or something like that. But guess I'll bring it next week, and if y'all still want it, you can have it. But we're going to go to the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And Jehovah gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with parts of the vessels of the house of God. And he carried them into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and the vessels he brought into the treasure house of his God.
You hear that? So he goes in. Now remember, there was Jehoiakim and there was Jehoiakim, right? One ends with a mem Sophie, right? They spelt a little bit. They sound the same, but they're two different kings, right? This one right here is Jehoiakim, I believe. So when Nebuchadnezzar came into Jerusalem, he just started raiding the temple. Now remember when we spoke about King Hezekiah, right? And when Hezekiah, what King Hezekiah did that was wrong? Kids, will y'all remember what he did that was wrong?
Yeah.
What? Right. See, but my man missed that. He paid attention. My man. That's exactly what he did. He was going through a sickness. Babylonians came down to visit him, right? Sent a messenger to visit him. And when they came down, he showed them everything. The treasures of the house. He opened up the safe. He did all the things that he wasn't supposed to do. So now, when the prophet at that time was the prophet Isaiah, I believe, told them that since you showed them all of this stuff, now they're going to come down and invade you, and they're going to take everything from you. So it's not going to happen in your time. He says it's going to happen in your children's time. So I'm showing you peace. So, but because you opened all the treasuries and you opened all the treasure houses, that this is going to happen to you. So now in the book of Daniel, this is what's happening. Nebuchadnezzar went in and he began to raid the gold and the silver, and he began to take everything from us, because this is what the Most High God said what happened. So now when we look at the name Nebuchadnezzar, can you read what we got up there?
Nebuchadnezzar. In the Babylonian orthography, Nabu-Kadur-Azur, which means Nebo, protect the crown or the frontiers. In an inscription, he styles himself Nebo's favorite. He was the son of successor Nabopolassar, who delivered Babylon from its dependence on Assyria and laid Nineveh in ruins. He was the greatest and most powerful of all the Babylonian kings.
He was the greatest and most powerful of all. So when we talk about the Babylonian Empire, we talking Nebuchadnezzar. This is who we talking about. This is the creme de la creme, as they said. This is the top dog, right? Nebuchadnezzar. So now, but his name has a significance in it, or it has a name in it, which is Nabu, right? And let's see what Nabu means.
Nabu was honored as the son of Marduk, or Bel.
Or Bel. We heard the story of Bel and the dragon, right? So Marduk and Bel are one and the same. Let's go.
King of the gods and patron of Babylon, and grandson of Enki, also known as E, the god of wisdom. After Marduk, Nabu was the most important god of the Babylonians.
So he was the most important god of the Babylonians. So Nebuchadnezzar's name is Nebo, protect the crown. So what happens is that a lot of these kings will have an epithet, right? These were names or titles that sometimes would pass down from king to king. That's why a lot of times you see kings have similar names. You see how many Dariuses were there? How many of these people were there? Because it wasn't really a name, but it was like a title that will go before their names, right? So you would have like Cyrus the First, Cyrus the Second, Cyrus the Third. That's the way you could differentiate who was who in history. You see Cyrus, you just think it was the same Cyrus, but it wasn't. You know, Ahasuerus the First, Ahasuerus the Second. These were just different titles that were put on certain kings, but they were different men in the history, on the annals of history. Let us go, my brother.
Verse 3. And this king spoke unto Ashpenaz, his chief officer, that he should bring in certain of the children of Yisrael, and of the seed royal, and of the nobles, youths, in whom was no blemish, but fear to look on, and skillful in all wisdom, and skillful in knowledge, and discerning in thought, and such as had ability to stand in the king's palace, and that he could teach them the learning that the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Where did you end at?
Verse 5.
Verse 5, all right. So we got now a situation where Jerusalem is no longer under siege. They went in there, they took what they wanted. So at this time now they're taking the very best out of Jerusalem. People that were, how would you say, people that were part of nobility, the top line of the people. They bringing them to Babylon to educate them on Babylonian custom. You see, this is what you do to a people when you want to change their mentality or their mindset. You educate them on your ways. So that way, when they go back, it makes your job that much easier. Now, I'll give you an example. Today, back then it was by force. Today, most of the presidents from Central America, from the Caribbean islands, a lot of these people are educated in the United States. They get an education from the United States. Because what they do, they send their children to be educated, and now the philosophy or the Western philosophy or whatever order that they're pushing, your children are learning it in a place which wants to push an agenda. So when they go back to that country or to that place, the job is already halfway done. Because whatever you've educated them with is what they're going to go back and teach their people. That's why there's so much conflict with certain peoples like in the Middle East. Like they don't want Western customs because they feel like Western customs is going to corrupt their way of life because they have a certain way of living. You understand? So what Nebuchadnezzar is doing is it's not anything new. This is what people do. They draw you in, they educate you, and they put you up on their language. They put you up on certain things. You know, the universal language of the world today is English. Most societies in the world, they have to learn English. Back then, they had to learn Aramaic or Syriac, as they would call it. They would have to learn that language to communicate. So it was the local language of the East. Everybody learned Aramaic.
Right.
Everybody learned this. So Nebuchadnezzar was bringing all these young guys in so that they could learn the ways of the Babylonians. Let us go.
And the king appointed for them a daily portion of the king's food, and of the wine which he drank, and that they should be nourished 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the chief of the officers gave the names unto them. Unto Daniel he gave the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Let's give their names and the definitions of their names, starting with their Hebrew names.
Daniel, God is my judge.
God is my judge. So Don means judge, right? Ta'ir, right? So Daniel makes it what? Dani makes it possessive. My, right? El is God of power, right? So Daniel, God is my judge. Let's go.
Hananiah, God has favored.
So we see, we often say Hananiah, but there's a power in saying the name the correct way. You know, when sometimes when we take names and we go, oh, it just sounds better in the way you say it in English.
Right.
But the power is in saying the name in the Ivrit, in the Hebrew. Because that's actually the name. When we transliterate names, sometimes the name is not the same. You know, Hananiah don't sound like Hananiah, right? It don't sound like it. It sounds like two different names. Now, Daniel sounds like Daniel. You know what I mean? It sounds similar. But now we're going to go to the next name.
Mishael.
Mishael, who is what God is, right? We knew of Mishael, right? Amore Mishael. Let us go.
Azariah.
Azariah. We know an Azariah, right? But is that the correct pronunciation of his name? How do you say his name in Hebrew?
Azariah.
Azariah. Not Azariah. We all say Azariah. But it's Azariah. And his name means what?
God has helped.
God has helped. And that brother right there fits his name. Because Azariah, he helps everybody. If you know him, if you know his spirit, he was the one who built our booth. He'll go, if you need him to do something, he'll go do it. That's the type of spirit he got. So some people grow into their names. Some people become what their names are. You understand what I mean? Let us go. The other names that they gave them. So now Daniel is no longer Daniel. When he came to Babylon, they changed his name. It's just like a Chinese person comes to America. They no longer Jong Hoon. They now Jimmy Hoon. You know what I mean? They adapt to what's here and they learn English. They no longer want to be called their name. They adapt. But now Daniel didn't put this name on himself. This was the eunuch or the officer of the court was the one that designated these names to these men. Let us go.
Belshazzar, Lord of the straitened treasure, Shadrach, royal or the great scribe, Meshach, guest of a king, Abednego, servant of Nebo.
So now we got Belteshazzar, right? Now Bel means Lord. Bel is the chief god of Babylon. He's also known as Marduk, right? So now we got Abednego, right? What does now these names are Syriac or Aramaic, but Aramaic is similar to Hebrew. Certain words might sound the same. So we to say king, we say what? Melech, right? In Aramaic, you say Malak or Malka. That's how you say it, Malka in Aramaic. So now we got Abednego, right? What do we see in the name that's similar to the definition of the name when we hear the pronouncement of the name? Eved, right? And Eved means what? Servant. So we see it in the name, but we just got to pay a little bit of attention. You know what I'm saying? The Most High God shows us certain things. So when you become studious and you begin to learn certain things, when you do your homework, you begin to see certain things, and you extract certain things from the lesson and you make them part of you. Like you see little Micah, he remembered that from the last time. He connected Hezekiah to showing the whole house, and he was able to bring it forth. That means you're paying attention. That means that you are absorbing what is it that you hear. And that's part of also learning, being able to sit down still and being able to listen. And listening is an art. Not everybody could do it. Some people could sit down and act like they listening, but the lesson is bouncing off their heads. But to listen and to take in what you're hearing, that's a gift. You'll go far doing that. Let us go.
Verse 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's food, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the officers that he might not defile himself.
So Daniel said, I'm not going to eat from the king's food.
Right.
I'm not going to eat. Some interpretation said the king's meat, right? If you got some interpretations out there might say the king's meat. But some scholars say, well, the food wasn't kosher. It wasn't clean, right? That's why they didn't partake of it. But is it because of that? Because there's something there that we could partake of. What could we partake of in that on the king's table? Wine. Wine is not unclean. But he said he didn't want to partake of the king's table. Now, why do you think he might have forsook from partaking from the king's table? Let's say that they might have had some unclean food up there, but I'm sure that a king's spread don't have everything unclean. You got some vegetables, you got some stuff up there, right? So why do you think it was the reason why Daniel and the other three comrades said, we're not going to eat from the king's table? Anyone?
It was dedicated to other gods.
Perfect. Most societies or most people, when they about ready to partake of a feast or a banquet, they send up prayers to their gods. So this is why we tell people that when you go amongst your family on Thanksgiving and the big turkey's on the table, turkey is good. The stuffing might be good, but you get there late. But they already said a prayer in the name of JC, in the name of Jesus, that has defiled that food. You go to your family on Xmas. You say, I'm going to just go visit my family. They got a turkey on the table. They might have some rice and some chicken. And you say, I'm going to partake of that food. That food is defiled because it was blessed in the name of a false god.
That's right.
This is the dedication that we have to have. He said, listen, we don't want to partake of the king's table because we see what's going on. Read on. Let's see what he wants.
And God granted Daniel mercy and compassion in the sight of the chief of the officers. And the chief of the officers said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces sad?
He's scared of the king.
With the youth that are of your own age.
Yeah, he said, listen, if you don't partake of the food, you don't got to answer to him. I got to answer to him. Because he's going to ask me, why is it that these guys look this way and these other guys look well fed?
Right.
What's going on? Let's see what he says.
So would ye endanger my head with the king?
Right.
Then said Daniel to the steward, whom the chief of the officers had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Try thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days.
10 days.
And let them give us post to eat and water to drink.
I said, look, we want vegetables and we want water to drink. Just try us 10 days. I'm going to just give us a 10-day trial and we'll let you know. And I'll make you see that what I'm telling you, that this is sure proof. So now sometimes we fall into situations where we let our stomachs lead us, right? We got to learn discipline.
Right.
When you go to certain spots, when you go away, when you do certain things, don't say, oh, I'm out here, it doesn't matter, I'm going to just eat whatever, and when I get back, God will understand and he would forgive me. You get people that get in situations when you are out there, you cannot put yourself in a situation to be eating unclean things. So we go into McDonald's and we think it's okay because we eating just a hamburger. But McDonald's sell or cook unclean things right on that same griddle. McDonald's cook the beef in the same slab that they cook the bacon. But you getting a burger from McDonald's. You getting a burger from Burger King. And you saying it's okay. The food you've eaten is defiled.
Right.
It's unclean. We got to have control of ourselves and our stomachs. When you go out certain places, you got to be able to say, all right, they don't sell anything here that I can eat. I'm going to pick me up a salad. I'm going to pick me up some peanuts. I'm going to pick up some water, and I'm going to wait till I get home. You got to do that. Because if we just let our stomachs lead us, we will be in a jam with the Most High God.
Right.
The Most High God don't understand what we do because there's always an option. There's always an option. So these men right here, they decided we're going to keep the laws of God rather than break or forsake the laws of God. Give us some posts, give us some vegetables, give us some chickpeas. We'll make some hummus. We'll do something like that, but we're not going to eat from the king's table. That's dedicated. That's unclean. Let us go.
Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the youth that eat of the king's food. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants.
Say, as you see it, deal with your servants. When you see us,
Right.
if we look like we starving, then we got to eat from the king's table. He said, but if not, you know what I'm saying? Then deal accordingly with us.
Right.
But you know what happened. You know, if you go on a vegetarian diet like that, you're going to get right. If you eat the right amount of beans and proteins and things like that, you're going to still maintain your wellness or how you look, but you're going to be cleaned out. Your brain cells is going to be working better. Your blood flow is going to be better because you have just changed your diet. Now, this does not mean that Daniel was a vegetarian prior. Right. He took up on this because he understood that the time and the situations that he was in. So he needed to do this. You see, you also got to understand that when you are in certain type of situations, what do you need wine for? There's no time for celebration.
That's right. Teach that.
I don't need wine.
No.
Wine is when you feel nice and relaxed or whatever. I'm in jail right now.
That's right.
Why do I need wine in jail? What am I enjoying here?
Makes sense.
He said, nah, I don't need that. So I'm going to get right with God. I'm going to get in the right wavelength with the Creator so that he will hear me and so that he will listen to me and perhaps he'll have mercy on me and take me out of this situation.
That's right.
Let us go.
So he hearkened unto them in this matter and tried them 10 days.
He tried them 10 days.
And at the end of 10 days their countenances appeared fairer, and they were fatter in flesh than all the youth that did eat of the king's food. So the steward took away their food and the wine that they should drink and gave them posts.
And gave them posts. He took all that stuff away that they should eat and gave them vegetables, beans, water. And that was their diet for the 3 years. That's dedication. That's mental toughness. To be able to go on a diet like that and be able to sustain and not break it, not cheat. Like we was talking in the back room and talking about Chief Eleazar when he used to put people on raw food diets or liquid diet for 30 days. He would tell you, don't cheat. Don't eat anything solid. But some people will cheat. They'll eat a piece of chicken. They'll eat this. They'll eat that. But there's a reason for why he's putting you through this. There's a reason why Daniel and his friends is going through this, because they want to get closer to God and they want to make sure that they don't forsake the law, statutes, and commandments of the Creator. Let us go.
Verse 17. Now as for these 4 youth, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
When you do the right thing, God gives you what you look for.
That's right.
It's just as plain as that. When you do the right thing, God gives you what you need and what you're looking for. When you eating out all these joints, Popeyes and Kennedy Fried Chicken and all them other greasy joints that you're eating out of, you're putting poison in your body. As Israelites, we're not supposed to be eating from those places. We're supposed to be eating from our own hand. And if you go to a place to eat, it better be right before God. Not before man, before God. So we have to be cognizant of this, and we have to be on top of this. We as Israelites, we follow a special diet. We don't eat like everybody else. We have to be careful of what we put into our bodies. Let us go.
And at the end of the days which the king had appointed for bringing them in, the chief of the officers brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king spoke with them. And among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king.
Before the king, They stood before the king because they was well favored in the way that they looked. You know what it is to be on a vegetarian diet for 3 years? You ain't got no stomach. Your complexion is clear. You don't got no impurities coming out of you. So when they stood before everybody else was fat, well fed. The toxic probably overdrank, and they was just on vegetables and water. So when they stood there, they were shining. Somebody who goes through a diet like that and they do it right, you know how they look? You got people that's vegetarians and don't look like that, don't look like have that, but you got to be dedicated when you a vegetarian to certain way and certain nutritions and putting in certain supplements into your diet so that you have the right or the proper amount of vitamins so that your body will be nourished. But these guys right here were looking spectacular, and Nebuchadnezzar noticed it. Let us go.
And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians.
10 times better. Let's
go.
go.
In all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus.
He continued all the way. He lived a long time, all the way to the first year of King Cyrus. So that means he went through the Medo-Persian Empire, and then he lived all the way. No, he went through the Median Empire and then to the beginning of the Persian Empire, because that was the beginning of Cyrus' reign. That's the Persian monarch. Let us go, chapter 2.
Chapter 2. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his sleep broke from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the enchanters, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in Aramaic.
In Aramaic. So at this point, the book of Daniel, when you look at the Hebrew, at this point right here, what verse you up to?
Verse
4? Right? It's going to change from Hebrew to Aramaic all the way to chapter 8. Because now they're in Babylon, and in Babylon they're speaking Aramaic. It's like you go to a Spanish-speaking country. If you're there long enough, you're going to learn how to speak Spanish. So now 3 years went past. They've been educated. So now they're going to begin to speak in Aramaic. And the translation is not Hebrew. You might see what we recognize as Hebrew characters. But remember, the characters that we recognize, that we call Hebrew, that we know as Hebrew today, these characters like this, we recognize that as being Hebrew. That comes from Babylon. The ancient Hebrew looks like this, what they call Paleo-Hebrew, looks like this. And that was part of the Semitic languages. When we come out of Babylon, we come out with these type of block letters as we know it. We come out with that. Prior to that, we looking like this, right? When the brother Uzziel came up here and he spoke about Hezekiah's seal, right? When you looked at the seal, it had this type of writing. It had the ancient writing. When we go into Babylon, when we come out of Babylon, now we come out with this type of writing. We come out with this, with that block letter writing. And that was from the Syriac language or the Aramaic language, which we adopted in Babylon. So the characters look the same. Some of the words sound the same, but it's not the same. It's like Spanish and English, right? We use the same characters. We use the same A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, A, E, O, U, right? We use the same stuff. A, B, C, D, E, F, A, the same thing. We use it, but when we start to pronounce things, some things might sound similar, but certain things don't sound similar at all. But it's the same characters that they're using. You understand what I'm saying? So that didn't come from us. That actually we came out of Babylon with that. And that's what we call modern Hebrew today. That's what they call modern Hebrew today. Let us go.
Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will declare the interpretation.
So they, the king said, look, I have this dream. It bothered me. So they're like, all right, tell us the dream, and we'll tell you the interpretation of the dream. This is what they've been used to doing. You know what I'm saying? These guys, these astrologers and astronomers and all these guys, they've been used to milking the king. This is part of their job. They sit in the court. They tell the king what he want to hear, and it's all good. They go back to their big fancy houses. They living well off the king, but the king got a new trick up his sleeve, and let's see what the king says.
Verse 5. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is certain with me.
The king said, the thing is certain with me. I know the dream. But watch what he tells them.
If you make not known unto me the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill.
He said, I know the hill. He said, I know the dream, but I want y'all to tell me what the dream is. And I want you to tell me the interpretation of the dream. Why am I paying you all this money if you can't tell me what the dream and the interpretation of it is?
Right.
He's saying, if you don't say it to me, the dream and the interpretation, I'm killing all of y'all, and I'm turning your houses into doo-doo hills.
That's what he said.
That's exactly what it is. I'm turning your houses into doo-doo hills. That's where we're going to throw all the waste from the people in Babylon. That's what we turning your houses with y'all buried underneath it. Let's go.
But if ye declare the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Only declare unto me the dream and the interpretation thereof.
You hear that now? You gotta earn your pay. Earn your pay, and you will get great honors from me. Before, y'all been on a free ride.
Right.
You know? That's why you talk about Cleo, Dionne Warwick. You get your Walter Mercados and all your astrologists and astronomers, all the people that read the horoscopes and do all that stuff. Well, let's see what you got now. None of those people can help you. Reading your horoscopes is not going to do anything for you. It's all a fairy tale. It's a fallacy.
Right.
So if you open up the newspaper every day looking to see what your horoscope has to say, you're not getting anything for that. You're very superstitious. If you're at home smudging, burning sage, and doing all types of stuff, thinking that that's going to remove some type of spirits from the house, you are superstitious. Borderline necromancy. Through God, salvation comes. Through God is where he removes certain things from us. We got to pray to him. Not something that we going to make smoke and some evil is going to get away from you. That's not how it works. Let us go.
They answered the second time and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will declare the interpretation. The king answered and said, I know of a truth that you will gain time, inasmuch as ye see the thing is certain with me.
This king is smart. He said, this been going on. So I know y'all trick. He said, you're trying to gain time. You're trying to get me drunk. So perhaps I'll tell somebody, and then y'all could come back to me with the dream and then give me some bogus interpretation. But I'm not going for that this time. This dream really bothered me, and I want y'all to earn y'all pay, or else you and your family are out of here. Let us go.
That if ye make not known unto me the dream, there is but one law for you. And ye have agreed together to speak before me lying and corrupt words till the time be changed. Only tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can declare unto me the interpretation thereof.
He said, y'all just waiting to tell me lies. So the king is wise. He understands what's going on. Right. He understands what the people are doing. He's not stupid. Sometimes you sit amongst people. You ever sit amongst people and you know they lying? And you just sit there and you go, man, I know this guy's lying. You ever sit around with somebody that you consider a friend and they got a story for everything that's said? Like everybody can have something different. Like you can have a story about one thing. Another person can have a story about, and that person has a story that matches each one of those stories. Like that's impossible. That's impossible. You can't have a story that matches everything that everyone else is saying. But they just need to be in the mix. And lying is that easy. Lying is that easy because you just need to hear yourself talk. Sometimes when you don't have anything to say, don't say anything at all.
That's right.
But you got to add your 2 cents to something to make yourself sound. Then you start going down the road where you start making up stuff. And then when you make up stuff, then you got to remember that lie. Because when it comes back to you, then people recall it to you. You be like, oh, nah, I said that. Nah, you said that thus and thus and thus. Remember you said that the last time? And then you get caught up in your lie. That's how lying works. The Most High always brings it back to your face. So the best thing to do is not to lie. Children, your parents confront you about something. Listen, the amount of effort it takes for you to lie, even if you think you're going to get a marker, it's easier to get the marker out the way than to lie and have to live with that lie forever. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're honest, your parents might get angry, but they might cut you some slack. Because they say, at least this person don't lie to me. At least this child doesn't lie to me. So lying is not worth it. Lying is not worth all the headaches that you're going to go through. Just be truthful. Let us go.
Verse 10. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can declare the king's matter. For as much as no great and powerful king have asked such a thing of any magician or enchanter or Chaldean.
Now they getting scared. They said, look, there's not a man on earth that could declare this matter, king. I don't care what you say. You see all of us here? None of us could declare to you what's in your brain. We can't tell you what's going on in your brain. So the king is like, well, why am I paying you? If you can't declare to me how the stars is lining up and what I'm thinking in my brain, what am I paying you for? You're supposed to be a magician. You're supposed to be David Copperfield. Make something happen. Make it come up in an illusion. Let me know something. But they couldn't make it happen because it wasn't in their power to do it. Interpretation of dreams and things of this manner come from the Most High God, not from man. Let us go.
And it is a hard thing that the king asketh, and there is none other that can declare it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
He says, except the gods whose dwelling is not with flesh. He's talking about gods in plurality because the Babylonians worship many gods. Right. Let us go.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went forth, and the wise men were to be slain. And they sought Daniel and his companions to be slain.
Now, Daniel wasn't a sorcerer. Right. He wasn't a magician. He was just a counselor. But he was counted under the ban of all the wise men. Right. So when they came and got Daniel, Daniel didn't know what was going on. So when they came and got him, when the executioner came and got him, now let's see the exchange of the words that they have.
Then Daniel returned answer with counsel and discretion to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, wherefore is the decree so peremptory from the king?
Yeah, why is the decree so hasty, right? Why is the decree so hasty from the king that for us to be put to death? Like, what happened? Let us go.
Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, that he might declare unto the king the interpretation.
That he might declare. He said, look, king, I'm going to give you the dream and the interpretation. Give me some time. I just need some time to commune with my God, and you're going to see what Daniel is going to do, what we're supposed to do as God's people when we got certain type of adversities facing us, when we got certain type of situations right before us, what we're supposed to do when we are in binds. We're supposed to go to our king. Let us go.
Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might ask mercy of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in the vision of the night. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel spoke and said,
I guarantee that they started fasting right away to get closer to God. He came to his comrades. He said, look, we got to invoke the power of the Creator on this one, or else we're going to lose our lives. Said, this is what's happening. Thus and thus and thus and thus. God needs to speak through one of us and reveal this dream and this interpretation to us. Let us go. And Daniel say these words. Let's go.
Blessed be the name of God from everlasting even unto everlasting. For wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who have given me wisdom and might, and has now made known unto me what we desired of thee, for thou hast made known unto us the king's matter.
That's a beautiful prayer right there. He's declaring the might and the power of God. He's evoking the Most High God to declare to him or to reveal to him the dream and the interpretation. That's the way that we're supposed to be. Supposed to ask God for these things. Let us go.
Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will declare unto the king the interpretation.
So now Daniel didn't go like,
just say
all right, I got the dream and the interpretation, but yeah, you could kill the rest of them dudes. Just me and my boys gonna survive. He didn't do that.
Right.
He was being considerate of everyone else because he understood that the thing was difficult.
Right.
Although they were necromancers and soothsayers and all that, he wasn't like kill them all and let me and my three comrades just survive. He didn't do that. He said, take me to the king, and I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to declare to the king the dream and the interpretation. Let us go.
Verse 25. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the children of the captivity of Yehuda that will make known unto the king the interpretation.
You think Arioch really wanted to kill all the people? I mean, he would have done it. But you know how hard it is to do that? There's people in the midst that you like. And you got to kill them because that's your job. You're the executioner. So Arioch was like, hurry up, Daniel, let's go. Hurry up. Let's go up in there because we need you to tell the king what is it that was revealed to you. Let us go.
The king spoke and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered before the king and said, the secret which the king hath asked can neither
listen to this.
man...
This is very important. The king asks Daniel, can you reveal the dream and the interpretation thereof? And Daniel's answer is the most important answer in this whole chapter. Let's go.
The secret which the king hath asked can neither wise men, enchanters, magicians, nor astrologers declare unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets. He hath made known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the end of days.
All things come from Yah.
Hallelujah.
All things come from Yah. Once we understand that, then we are that much better. All things come from Yah. Daniel knew where it came from. It's not because of me. It's because the Most High God revealed it to me. So he's putting God out there first. He's putting Yah out there first. Letting Nebuchadnezzar know that there's no power or greatness in you or these magicians or these enchanters. The power is of the Creator. Let us go.
Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed. What should come to pass hereafter, and he that revealeth secrets have made known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but to the intent that the interpretation may be made known to the king, and that thou mayest know the thoughts of thy heart.
You hear that? He humbled himself. He said, it wasn't given to, I don't have the interpretation of the dream because I know more than anybody else. He humbled himself. He said, he humbled himself. He says, not because I know more than anybody else. He said, but there's one that revealeth dreams, and that's the Creator. And that's where all these things come from. He keeps trying to plug the Most High. You see, when you get before great people, when you get in your highest point in life, don't forget God.
That's right.
Don't forget God. You see some people, they go up and they accept awards, and they go up and I like to thank my Lord and Savior. That's who they think is their God. But in their heart, they feel like, I'm not going to forget God. So us as Israelites, when we get to our highest pinnacles, we always got to say, Torah Yehovah.
Amen.
In any part of life, if somebody putting a camera before you, you always got to give glory to the Creator. If you go speak before an audience, you always give glory to the Creator. Always thank God. That's why we emphasize it when you come up here so that you get into the habit of it. When you come up here and you read or you do anything, we always say, give glory to Yah. That's part of it. This is what Daniel is doing. Let us go.
Thou, O king, sawest, and behold the great image. This image, which was mighty and whose brightness was surpassing, stood before thee, and the appearance thereof was terrible. As for that image, its head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of brass, its legs of iron, its feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out with thy hands, which smote the image upon its feet, that were of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken in pieces together, and became like the shaft of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, so that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. And we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
So, as the dream and the interpretation, he saw a figure or a statue with a head of gold, right? Arms and chest of silver. Then what's next? The stomach and the thigh of brass, right? And then the feet and the legs
Of clay.
of iron and the toes of iron and clay.
Right.
Right? Part iron, part clay. This is really, if you see a dream like this, it will bug you out. I mean, you understood why he said that the dream troubled him in his sleep because of what he saw. This is something that you can't comprehend. You don't understand this because it's not something that you could just decipher quickly. You can't figure it out. So now Daniel told him the dream, right? But now let's see the interpretation.
Thou, O King of kings, thou, O King, King of kings, unto whom the God of heaven hath given the kingdom, the power, the strength, and the glory.
So Daniel is also very technical and political in how he addresses the king, because the power is with the king. Right. The king already decreed for these men to be dead. So when he go in there, he do a little bit of, stroking, like how they say, and talking to him in a manner to where he could be received. So he said, thou, O King of kings, right? Whom the God of heaven hath given the kingdom, the power, and the strength, and the glory, which was true. God has given this to Nebuchadnezzar and to Babylon at this point. So for all intent and purposes, this guy is the most powerful guy on the earth at this moment, Nebuchadnezzar. But Daniel is addressing him to kind of keep his spirit at bay, because what he's going to tell him is not going to be something where his kingdom is going to survive.
Right.
He's got to tell him the truth. And this is what's going to happen. Let's go.
And wheresoever the children of men, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heaven dwell, hath he given them into thy hand, and hath made thee to rule over them all. Thou art the head of gold.
You hear that? He said the whole earth. He basically told him you rule the whole earth, which is not true. But for what Nebuchadnezzar thought, he ruled the whole earth. He said everywhere that birds, the fowls, the this and that, the animals, the beasts of the field, he said that's you. You ruled that. So for those of you who are looking at the link that I gave you online, as you can see that I separated all the kingdoms and there are maps up there to show the rulership of each one of the kingdoms. Mm-hmm. So when you get a chance, or if you're looking at it right now, if you got it open on your computer, you can open it up and you can take a look at it. Like I said, I left the papers at home that I have for the congregation, but it is what it is. So he said that Babylon is the head of gold. Right? Now out of all of the metals that we begin to see, the gold is the most precious out of all the metals that they point out here. So he's the head of gold. He's at the top. Let us go.
Verse 39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall be a rule over all the earth.
After thee? All right, go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and beateth down all things, and as iron that crusheth all these shall it break in pieces and crush.
So the kingdom of brass, which consists of the chest or the breast and the arms, that's the Median Empire. Is the Median Empire, and after them, the stomach, and silver is the breast and the arms. Mm-hmm. Brass is the stomach and the thighs. Mm-hmm. That's the Persian Empire.
Right.
So what we know about the Persian Empire is that now you got Cyrus, which the Most High God prophesied about in the book of Isaiah.
Right.
So Cyrus is prophesied about, and he's the one that returned the captives back to Jerusalem. He's the one that started the rebuilding of the temple because God spoke about him. And Cyrus is the one that started when he went. He plundered Assyria. He released the people from Babylon, and he sent the children of Israel back to rebuild the temple. So that's Cyrus. He's the brass. And then the next kingdom, the legs of iron, that was the Greeks under Alexander. That was the Greeks. And then it says the toes were part iron and part clay, right? But iron and clay don't mix. So after Alexander passes away, right? And you can see the kingdom and what he controlled. Says, just read all the subtitles that I got under each one of the kingdoms.
The head of gold represents the Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian Empire.
Uh-huh.
Breast and arms of silver represent the Median Empire.
Uh-huh.
Belly and its thighs of brass represent the Persian Empire.
Uh-huh.
Alexander the Great conquest in the territory that he amassed, he symbolized the legs of iron. The toes, part of clay and part iron, symbolize his conquered territory, which is shown in the map.
Yeah, so he got, when you look at the map, it's like 10 territories that he conquered, right? When you count it, you're going to count 11, but I believe Greece and Thrace, I believe it's Greece and Greece and Macedon is one and the same. So when you count it, there's 10. So when he dies, when he's dying, this is the legend. When he's on his deathbed, his generals come to him and say, to who goes the kingdom? And they said, Alexander said, to the strongest. Basically, fight it out. Alexander started going to war when he was 16 years old. His father put him at the head of a charge to guard something, and he ended up warring and conquering and winning, right? Philip of Macedon was his father, right? So then Alexander wanted to be greater than his father. Alexander thought he was a god on earth. Amen. That's why he went down to the oracle in Egypt, and he thought that he was the son of Ra. Mm-hmm. He thought his mother told him that he was God on earth. So when he went out all through the east and he went through all these areas, he conquered them. I think he died at 32 years old. He died a young man. but he conquered so much. So when he's on his deathbed, the legend says that he said to the, who should the kingdom go to? He said to the strongest. So now you got all these different governors, these different generals, and now they warring over 10 different areas, right? But out of them, 4 generals come out. 4 generals come out as being the strongest. But then out of the 4, only 2 stay. You got the Seleucid Empire, and then you got the Ptolemies down in Egypt. But the Seleucid Empire, that's what we always talk about during the time of the Maccabees, right? That's who the Maccabees was fighting against. And that was the wicked Antiochus, Epiphanes. That was Antiochus. So when we talk about the 10 toes, those were the 10 regions that Alexander conquered, the 10 areas that he conquered. But it was part iron and part clay. So they couldn't mix. Later down in history, when we read in the book of Daniel, I believe chapter 11, verse 6, or verse 6 or verse 4, one or the other, it says that the 2 empires, they try to do a marriage, right? Meaning one, they try to send a queen or a princess from one empire to marry a king from the other empire, but it never worked out. So this is where it talks about iron and clay not mixing, because these were the 2 empires that were trying to come together, and the Most High God didn't allow it to happen. Because if they would have came together, then they would have conquered, and God didn't want that, right? He didn't want that. And in some interpretations of the breakdown, some people say that the head of gold is Babylon. They said that the chest and the arms is the Medo-Persian Empire, because they are also synonymous with each other. Right. These are some interpretations. Then they go, they said that the stomach and the thigh of brass, that's the Greeks. And then they said that the iron and the toes, that's the Roman Empire. And that we're still under Roman influence today, right? But it's all Western. We're still under Greek influence today. We still Hellenized. A lot of what we have in society today is from the Greeks. It's from the Greek. The Romans just took every god that the Greeks had and gave it a Latin name. Gave it a Roman name. So we're technically under Greek influence / Roman influence. So whichever way you want to look at it, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? But the way we're going to carry it here, or we're going to continue with this narrative, it ends with the Greeks, right? And then there's going to be one more kingdom. Let us go.
Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom. But there shall be in it of the firmness of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so part of the kingdom shall be strong and part thereof broken.
Because the Ptolemies was always warring with the Seleucid, until finally the Seleucid kingdom overtook the Ptolemies. Because you see, we was under the Ptolemy rule during the time of the Maccabees. So the Egyptians, the Ptolemies was down in Egypt, and they kind of was taking it easy on us, right? But when the Seleucid Empire came, that's when the Maccabees, that's when we get Judah Maccabeus, we get his father, we get all of this, and we have that last stand against Antiochus. Let us go.
And whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves by the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron doth not mingle with clay. So
there it is. That marriage didn't work out. They tried it twice, and it didn't work out. Let us go.
And in the days of those kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, but it shall stand forever.
It shall stand forever. That's the kingdom of the Most High God. That's a prophecy about our future.
Right.
That this time has not come yet. But if we go to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 3, right at the bottom there. And see what it says there.
And many people shall go and say, Come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and he will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem.
So this is a time to come. All people shall come to the top of the mountain, to the God of Israel, and profess that he is king. They're going to follow this law. That's the kingdom. That's the stone that's going to stand out at the end. What's the next one in Isaiah 56, verse 7?
Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be acceptable upon mine altar. For my house shall be called the house of prayer for all people.
For all peoples. All people is going to bow down to this great king. All people. Finish out the chapter.
Verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof for sure.
You hear that? It said the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. That's the Most High God. So now the other thing that we see with the statue is when we look at all the metals, right? All the metals, as they come down, what happens? They get harder, but what else? Lessen in value. So Babylon had a higher set of morality than the Median Empire. The Median Empire had a higher set of morality than the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire had a higher set of morality than the Greeks. And we know what was happening in Greece. I don't have to be explicit because there are children here. But we know what was happening in Greece. But not only in Greece. All these societies have this. By the time we get to Greek, it was just rampant. You understand? But God gave these people the power to rule and to reign because of what we did and how we behaved with him. Let us go. Let's finish it out.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel and commanded that they should offer an offering and sweet odors unto him. The king spoke unto Daniel and said, of a truth, it is that your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and the revealer of secrets, seeing thou hast been able to reveal
They
this
started
secret.
worshiping Daniel. They started burning incense to him, bowing down to him. Oh, Belteshazzar, thou art great. That's what they started doing to him. But you see, when you do greatness and when you stand out, jealousy always creeps in. Mark that. Whenever you do good things, there's always going to be somebody that criticizes the good that you do.
Right.
And when we continue on in the history, we're going to begin to see it. People wasn't happy that Daniel saved their lives, but they weren't happy they weren't happy that he got all that credit.
Right.
Even back then, they had what we call today haters. And he saved their lives. But when we go on, I believe the very next chapter after this, you're going to see what they're going to try to do to Daniel.
Right.
Let us go.
Then the king made Daniel great and gave him many great gifts and made him to rule over the whole province of Babylon and to be chief prefect over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel requested of the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel was in the gate of the king. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So these are some lessons that we learn here. Now, he spared the lives of all the other people. He didn't tell Arioch killed them. But when he got in a position of power, what he did?
Bring on his people.
He brought all his people on. When I look out in New York City, all the meter maids is Indian. Somebody that's Indian is in that position of power. Am I lying? All the when you go in the city, everybody that's giving you a ticket looks Indian. Most of them. I'm not going to say everybody. Most of them. I'm like, somebody Indian must be in position of power. That's what you're naturally supposed to do.
That's right.
It's not racism. It's called you look out for your people. You give your people the positions. That's what you do. So as soon as he got on, yeah, I didn't kill all y'all guys, but I'm going to pull my guys up right up here with me.
That's right.
And that's what he did. Hoping and praying that you got something out of the lesson. I hope that the Most High God will continue to be with us all and protect us. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
You ready?